iconic comedy show, the puppet satire Spitting Image was back, but this time he is being mercilessly, ruthlessly mocked.
If I'm going to succeed in America, I need a lifestyle brand of creams and supplements. Gwyneth Paltrow has Goop, Kourtney Kardashian has Poosh, and Jamie Lee Curtis has Poogert. Now I've got mine, Meg Goo.
You know, at first, I thought this was just gonna be harmless comedy, just another cheeky British skit that pokes a bit of fun and moves on. But when Meghan Markle saw Spitting Image's latest episode,
oh, she wasn't laughing. She wasn't even rolling her eyes. She was furious.
This wasn't playful satire. It was sharp, personal, and honestly kind of savage. From the very first second, those puppets weren't just making jokes. They were pulling apart the image. She spent years carefully building thread by thread. They went after her charm, they questioned her intentions, and they painted her as this calculating mastermind hiding behind the perfect smile. And poor Harry, he didn't exactly get the hero's edit either. His puppet came across as clueless, dependent, and completely under Meghan's control.
Netflix show I'm producing for you is gonna be huge. Tell Eldon all about it.
It's about a beautiful young swan, but no one treats her like the beautiful swan she is until season 2, when everyone apologizes to her.
The more I watched, the more I realized this wasn't just a parody of a couple. This felt like a full-on takedown of their brand, piece by piece. And trust me, if you think that sounds bad, just wait. There are moments coming up that even had their most loyal fans cringing, so stick with me, because you're about to see why this episode might just be the one Meghan and Harry can't ignore. The parody that crossed the line. The Spitting Image team is famous for crossing boundaries, but this time, they went straight for Meghan's ambitions. Her puppet self strutted onto the screen, promoting her own lifestyle brand, dripping with over-the-top confidence.
Succeed in America, I need a lifestyle brand of creams and supplements. Gwyneth Paltrow has Goop, Kourtney Kardashian has Poosh, and Jamie Lee Curtis has Poogert. Now I've got mine, Meg Goo, celebrating the sexy earth goddess in all of us.
A not-so-subtle nod to her real-world push into high-end projects. The writers didn't hold back, likening her to Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, complete with absurd product ideas and smug self-promotion, while tossing her into the same basket as other celebrity vanity ventures that seemed more about status than substance. They even threw in a mock TV commercial for her brand, with slogans so exaggerated they bordered on absurd. Transform your life, for only £999 a month. Every exaggerated smile, hair flip, and perfectly rehearsed inspirational line became a calculated punch at Meghan's alleged obsession with image control. Even the background details piled on shelves of overpriced candles, jars labeled with vague wellness promises, assistants fawning over her every word, and a giant throne-shaped office chair as the ultimate status prop. It wasn't gentle teasing, it was a roast, an indictment, and a character assassination rolled into one. The subtext was razor sharp. Meghan wasn't just being lampooned for her business ideas, she was being portrayed as someone so desperate to stay in the spotlight that she'd brand and sell anything, including herself. And this, the audience soon realized, was just the appetizer. The main course would leave even Buckingham Palace squirming. The Meghan and Harry Hollywood roast. From there, the satire got bolder and nastier. In one sketch, puppet Meghan didn't just sneak into Michelle Obama's party, she swiped the invitation right out of another guest's hands, flashing a smug grin as if royal blood made her untouchable. She floated around the fictional soiree, name-dropping at every turn, acting as though celebrity circles were simply her birthright. Every time someone turned away, she'd whip out a mirror to fix her hair, ensuring she was always camera-ready, even in a puppet world. Beside her, puppet Harry was unrecognizable, not the dashing cheeky prince from the public's memory, but a disheveled, out-of-work actor clutching a crumpled resume and pleading for auditions. At one point, he even tripped over a catering tray while trying to network, earning nothing but pitying stares and muttered bless his heart comments from the guests. The cruelest punchline, this wasn't all make-believe. The writers ripped it straight from reality, mirroring that infamous awkward moment when Harry was filmed pitching Meghan for a Disney voiceover job to CEO Bob Iger at a red carpet event. They even exaggerated it, having puppet Harry follow every producer in the room with a pen, begging them to just sign anywhere. The parody's genius was in its precision. The exaggerated movements and absurd gags barely needed embellishment because the truth was already that uncomfortable. Viewers laughed, but the laughter was tinged with something sharper, a creeping awareness that the line between comedy and humiliation had been completely erased, and just when it seemed the show had reached peak savagery, it turned its sights fully on Harry, and went straight for the jugular. Harry as Meghan's puppet, it became a running theme. Harry wasn't his own man. The puppet version didn't stride with royal confidence. He slouched, sulked, and pouted about meaningless royal titles that nobody else cared about. He moaned about being fifth in line to the throne, as if the world should mourn his lost crown, while fumbling through every scene like a man hopelessly out of his depth. When conversations got complicated, he'd glance helplessly toward Meghan like a student waiting for the teacher to answer for him. Meanwhile, puppet Meghan, cool as ice and twice as calculating, stood center stage pulling invisible strings with a subtle smirk, steering every decision, every move, every carefully crafted soundbite. At one point, she even handed him a cue card mid-scene, reminding him what his own opinion was supposed to be. The balance of power was so lopsided it wasn't even a joke anymore, it was a hierarchy. And Harry, he wasn't just the dutiful husband, he was the loyal sidekick, who didn't seem to notice the applause was never for him. Every sketch hammered the same brutal truth: the spotlight he thought he shared had always been hers alone. The satire didn't stop there. It teased out an uncomfortable irony that even Meghan's most loyal fans would have trouble defending, because in the spitting image version of reality, Harry wasn't leading a royal rebellion, he was following a script, written in ink, he didn't control. And if you think that was savage, just wait until you see how they ripped open the couple's most glaring career-defining contradiction and turned it into their most humiliating punchline yet. The hypocrisy bombshell. Meghan and Harry's public narrative has always been packaged neatly for the world. They left the monarchy in search of privacy, peace, and independence, but the puppets weren't buying it for a second. Instead, they tore into that storyline, recasting the couple as shrewd architects of a brand new royal business empire, one fueled not by tradition, but by the very controversies they claimed to escape. Netflix mega deals, best-selling memoirs, blockbuster interviews. The sketches ticked them off like items on a marketing checklist, each one dripping with the same unspoken accusation: this wasn't a retreat, it was a calculated rebrand. They even threw in fake press junkets and mock product endorsements, lampooning the idea that every tearful confession came with a price tag. The satire was merciless, even mocking how each exclusive tell-all seemed perfectly timed to land them back in the headlines they swore they didn't want. It was a vicious loop, distance from the crown on paper, but a royal performance in practice, with Meghan and Harry as co-stars in a never-ending PR drama. And while the jabs at their strategy stung, nothing hit harder than when the show dug into Harry's past, peeling back the image of the rebellious prince to expose something far more personal, and far more uncomfortable, the kind of truth no amount of branding could ever polish. Satire hits personal history. In perhaps the most ruthless moment, Harry's puppet sat down with Paddington Bear for what seemed like an innocent chat, but quickly veered into a sly expose of his younger, wilder years. The scene alluded to the infamous scandals, drunken nights, and questionable costumes from his past, never naming them outright, but making them unmistakable to anyone paying attention. Paddington's polite, wide-eyed questions masked razor-sharp digs, each one delivered with the kind of faux naivete that made the audience howl. It was comedy wrapped in a velvet glove, but every punchline landed like a jab to the ribs, reminding viewers that Harry's troubles weren't solely the result of royal pressure, they were, in many ways, the product of his own choices. Meanwhile, Meghan's puppet sat just out of frame, stepping in to save him whenever the conversation got too raw, sometimes offering a forced laugh, other times shutting it down entirely with a pointed change of subject. It was a subtle but scathing portrayal of her constant control over their public image, as if every syllable had to pass through her invisible filter. The satire's brilliance was in its layering. Every joke doubled as a reminder that in this version of events, Meghan wasn't just the supportive spouse, she was the director, the producer, the editor, and even the casting agent of their shared story. By the time the sketch ended, the message was undeniable. In this power dynamic, one person held the reins, and it wasn't Harry, and the more she gripped them, the more it looked less like a partnership, and more like a royal rebrand under single management. A marriage of power and passivity. The puppet Meghan played sweet, but every gesture, every smile, was calculated with the precision of a chess grandmaster, each move designed 3 steps ahead, each word placed like a perfectly rehearsed line. She made the calls, dictated their public moves, and knew exactly how to pivot when the spotlight got too hot, slipping from victim to visionary in the blink of an eye. Harry's puppet, meanwhile, was loyal to a fault but hopelessly out of his depth, reacting to situations instead of shaping them, stumbling after her, as if trying to catch up to a game he didn't even know he was playing. His wide-eyed trust only highlighted her commanding presence, making him look less like a partner, and more like a supporting character in her ongoing production. The satire didn't just poke fun at their marriage, it dismantled the glossy PR-approved image they've worked so hard to protect, peeling it back layer by layer to show a union less about equality and more about hierarchy. In the world of spitting image, Meghan wasn't just holding all the cards, she was dealing them, stacking the deck, marking them in her favor, and rewriting the rulebook mid-game, while Harry smiled and followed her lead. And if you thought their royal rebellion was a bold, heartfelt escape, the next scenes would make you wonder if it was ever about freedom at all, or just a carefully orchestrated hustle with Meghan as both the mastermind and the main attraction, the rebellion that wasn't. In the final stretch, spitting image tore apart the couple's claim of breaking free, exposing it as more performance than principle. They weren't rebels, they were savvy entrepreneurs, packaging and selling the illusion of rebellion to the highest bidder. Harry's puppet bumbled through low-status jobs, delivering groceries, working as a tour guide, each played for laughs but undercut with the sense that he was still trading on his royal novelty, like a novelty currency that never quite lost its shine. Meghan's puppet, ever the strategist, mapped out her next privacy-focused media blitz, while seated in front of flashing cameras, paparazzi swarms, and a publicist whispering in her ear. Together, they cashed in on interviews, documentaries, and branding deals, each more tightly tied to their royal past than the last, like escape artists who never actually left the stage. The irony dripped from every frame. For a couple supposedly leaving the monarchy behind, they seemed unable or unwilling to stop milking its prestige, each cash grab more calculated than the one before, and that's where the sting of this parody landed hardest. It wasn't just about getting a laugh, it was about cracking open the fairy tale, showing that beneath the polished speeches, curated Instagram posts, and carefully staged photos, this wasn't a clean break at all, it was a thriving business model wearing a crown in disguise. By the time the credits rolled, Spitting Image had done far more than poke fun at Meghan and Harry. It had dismantled their carefully crafted public image with surgical precision. Every joke was a dagger wrapped in humor, every scene another layer stripped away from the glossy brand they've built since walking out of the palace gates. The show didn't need to scream accusations, it whispered them in ways that were impossible to ignore. Whether you found it brutally honest or unforgivably unfair, one truth was hard to escape: they left royal life, but they'll never truly leave the spotlight. And maybe that's the plan, because in their world, attention isn't just currency, it's survival. And if you thought this was brutal, just wait. What's coming next makes this look like a warm-up act. We're talking about a parody so savage, it doesn't just throw shade, it burns the whole royal image to the ground. So, if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Meghan and Harry are victims of unfair satire, or are they exactly what Spitting Image portrayed? I'll be reading every single one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.